It is tea with Tina time. I don't know. Don't know why I'm dancing. Don't know why I'm dancing. Just waiting for some friends to show up. It's totally normal. Everything's fine. And hey sis, hope you had a great birthday. Dobbins is here. That makes my whole day. I know a bunch of you are here who I can't see. I only get notifications for people I'm Facebook friends with, so I don't mean to neglect you. I know that you're here, I just don't know who you are. So, hi, I'm glad you're here. Welcome, everybody. It is Tuesday. It is Tuesday of week 8 of quarantine. Let's talk about that for a second. What? Week 8. It's a long time, y'all. That's a long time we've been here. It's a long time. Well, I'm glad that you're here. Whether this is your first tea with Tina or your 8th, doesn't matter. Glad you're here. Hopefully by now you've noticed that I don't really drink tea. So I'm really glad that you're here, but I'm not drinking tea. Please feel free to drink tea on my behalf. I'm just gonna go ahead and drink some water. That's my jam right now, but please have some tea. I see more people coming. This brings me joy. Welcome. Oh, Debbie, that's a fair point. Do we have to count the weeks? We don't have to. If you follow me on Instagram, you know that I count the days. I won't share that number with you if the counting is not helpful. But it makes me feel, I count them because it makes me look back and be like, wow, look at how far we've come. This is maybe a little sad, but maybe a little impressive that we've survived this long. So that's why I do it. But I totally understand not wanting to count it. Hi, Lauren. How are you? I hope you're doing well. I almost put on a bold red lip today. I thought of you. Just didn't fit right with the whole outfit, but I thought of you. All right, y'all, we are going to get started. I'm so glad that you're here. Welcome to Tea with Tina. Today, we're going to talk about body image. Everybody's favorite joyful topic. Can't wait. Now we're going to watch the numbers completely dip because people are like, bye. For some of those of you that have been with me every week, you know that we've already talked about this before, but we talked about it at about the 3-week, 4-week mark. And we are obviously much deeper into our quarantine now. And I think it's worth a circle back. I think it is worth it to recheck in about the body image stuff. So here's what I'm going to tell you. I've got some stuff I want to talk to you about today, but especially with this topic, I think when you all talk to each other in the chat, when you ask questions that I would love to answer for you as we get toward the end, I think it's meaningful. I think it makes the whole conversation more powerful. So I want you to share some of your body image stuff, questions, comments, concerns, shame that you've had in the quarantine. And I want to make sure that we've got time at the end to answer questions and that you can answer each other's questions as we go. And for those of you that have no idea who I am or why you should listen to me talk about this, hi, I'm Tina. I'm Tina Van Steenbergen. I'm a full-time professional public speaker. I travel the country and talk to women about why women need women. And one of the things that I spend my life talking about is body image, because I think it is a shared experience among women that even though most, if not all of us, have struggled with it in some way, shape, or form, we don't talk about very often. And I think it matters that we talk about it. I think it makes it easier when we talk about it. So I'm also a plus size person. That feels important for you to know. I don't know why that feels important for you to know. You might not be able to see that as you look at me on this little screen here. But it is a part of who I am and a part of the way that I show up in the world that if you've only met me here, you might not know about me. I don't tell you that because I think that only plus size people should be allowed to have this conversation. I used to think that, in full disclosure. I used to be a person who lived in a larger body that anytime somebody who lived in a smaller body said something complaining about their way that they looked, right? That they feel fat today or that they're gaining weight or that they don't like their body, right? I was that person that was like, "Blech, I would kill to look like you. Blech, just eat a cheeseburger. What? You can eat whatever you want." I'm sure it's like so hard. Like I was 100% that person because I didn't know what I have now learned traveling the country and talking about body image everywhere that I go, is that body image is a shared woman experience that has absolutely nothing to do with size. The largest person in the room and the smallest person in the room can both have very similar struggles with what they see in the mirror and how they feel about it. Body image is psychological and emotional and something that impacts all of us in our own way. Now, living in a larger body in the United States of America is a different experience than living in a smaller body, right? There are things that happen. There are things that fat phobia and shame that people in larger bodies experience at different rates and in different ways. And so I don't mean to say that those experiences of living in different sized bodies are the same, but body image is a shared experience among women. It does not matter what you look like. You are allowed to struggle with this. Everybody can struggle with this. Also, gentlemen in the room, this is not just a strictly woman's issue. Men struggle with body image. The real difference is that they don't often get to talk about it. There's not really a space for men to be able to talk about their body image. And so know that I'm going to use woman language because that's the world that I live in. But if there's any men here, you're important and you matter, and your experience is also justifiable because, well, our culture's done a number on us when it comes to our bodies. So body image is everybody's struggle. And I think especially right now, because right now the quarantine body image COVID-19 meme game is reached a new level. It has reached a new level. Every single time I scroll on Instagram, sorry, I have an itch on my face. Every single time I scroll on Instagram, I see another meme about weight gain during COVID-19. People are literally calling it, I'm gonna gain my COVID-19. Which, when you think about it, and you think about the people who have actually suffered from that disease, it's just a pretty messed up joke. But that's what people are talking about it. Like, we are focusing, because we can't control so many of the other parts of this, and there's so much about this that is scary and uncomfortable. But just sort of hone in on this one thing, this gaining weight, right? The memes about how I'm not allowed to go to the grocery store because I come back with snack food and I eat it all in 2 days. Or the memes about how, like, somebody needs to start building barriers between my body and my fridge because I'm not capable of self-control during COVID-19. Or I'm so afraid of insert picture here that I'm gonna look like this when I leave quarantine. There are so many memes and jokes about weight gain during quarantine. And even though that was true 3 weeks ago, I think now that we're 2 months in, it's escalated. And I know those memes are supposed to be funny. And I know they're supposed to bring some levity to what is a very heavy, serious, complicated situation. But first of all, it's hard to joke about body image. I don't know if you've experienced this in your life, but it is hard to joke about it. It is hard to make it funny because it is a deeply emotional experience. I read today that body image, when discussed or when you read about it or when you feel it, can pop up in 9 different sections of your brain. 9 different quadrant areas of your brain are electrified or notified or impacted by body image conversations at different times and in different ways. It is complex and deeply connected to who we are and how we show up in the world. So when we try to make light of it, it often doesn't work. It often doesn't make us laugh. It makes us feel like crap about ourselves. And then we either refuse to let ourselves go to the fridge or go to the fridge and eat ice cream because we feel badly about it. So I know they're supposed to be funny, but I think they're complicating things for people. I think they also make things especially complicated for people who have struggled with eating disorders or disordered eating in their life. And those are 2 very different things. Maybe not very different, but they are 2 different things. Eating disorder is a diagnosed mental health issue and often presents in 1 or 2 different ways of controlled eating, right? Or not eating. Disordered eating are some of those behaviors that those of us that don't have a full-on diagnosed eating disorder still exhibit. We often call those disordered eating patterns dieting. We often call them weight loss control, but it is disordered eating. And that has become a diagnosable thing. A thing that psychiatrists, psychologists, and doctors can say that we're exhibiting disordered eating patterns. We might not have gone all the way to a full-on eating disorder, but we are still exhibiting things that are unsafe, unhealthy, that are about control and about manipulating our body and the way that we live inside of it, right? And so you don't have to have an eating disorder to be exhibiting unhealthy things, right? Or to be caught in a place with your body where you know that what you're doing isn't healthy, but you don't know how to stop. And people that have eating disorders or that have exhibited disordered eating in their lives see these memes and immediately spiral into all of the psychological stuff that gets in the way for how they show up in their body in the real world. they're like actually causing harm to some of these humans in the way that they show up in their body. And the other reason why these memes are starting to irritate me is because a lot of the bodies we're joking about in these memes, a lot of the bodies that we are afraid to look like as we leave quarantine are real bodies. They are real human beings. We might post a picture of I think I saw one that was like a giant bear, like a giant bear just like sitting there like, oh. That was like how I'm gonna look when I leave COVID-19, and like, I get it, but like, there are people who live in a body that looks like that we've now made a joke. I wonder if that's part of the reason why I wanted to tell you that I live in a plus size body before we started this conversation. Because I think we get so used to fat shaming in our country and in our culture that we don't even think about the humanity behind it. But that body that you are afraid to look like when you leave quarantine is a body somebody lives in every single day. And us joking about being afraid to look like that doesn't feel good or kind or respectful to the humans that actually do live in those bodies. We are all doing our best right now. And I promise this whole thing isn't about hating on memes. It was not like the point of me coming to talk to you today. But I just, I feel like we are all doing our best. And I feel like we need to be respectful of the people whose best is still complicated and hard and messy and painful. And if you share memes or if memes make you chuckle, like I'm not policing your meme behavior. I just want us to think critically about some of the things that are becoming normal for us to talk about. Because I think we are all trying our best. And I thought that I was doing a good job. Okay. So I told you however many weeks ago that I wanted us all to focus on trying to respect our bodies, right? I don't need you to love it. I don't need you to even like it. And if you can't be kind to it every day, like that's fine. I just want us to move toward respecting our bodies. And I thought that I was doing a really good job of that in quarantine. And then I had a little moment last week, So for those of you that have followed me on Instagram or Facebook, you know that every single day my husband and I go for a walk. We go outside, and even in the Minnesota snowy 30-degree weather sometimes, we go outside for a full hour and we walk about 3 miles every day. And we try to walk quickly and like raise our heart rates and maybe sweat a little bit. I'm like really focused on trying to close that 30-minute exercise ring on my Apple Watch, you know what I mean? And so that has been a really cool, healthy pattern that we built in quarantine. And last week I noticed that James is losing weight as a result of this exercise, this like daily 30 minutes of exercise that we otherwise would not have been doing. And I noticed right around the same time I noticed he was losing weight, that I was not losing weight. I, in fact, believe that I have gained weight in quarantine, even though I have added at least 30 minutes of exercise to my every single day that otherwise never existed. Now, I don't know if I've gained weight because I don't keep a scale in my house, because I don't need the number to make me feel like trash about myself. So I don't know what I weigh. I have no idea. I guessed on my driver's license. It's probably wrong. I don't need to know, because it makes me uncomfortable. I don't need that number to exist in my brain and make me feel shame. So I don't know what I weigh, but I'm pretty sure that I've gained weight as a result of quarantine. And I'm mad about it. I'm mad about it. Tina, the body image advocate, the woman who travels the country and teaches women that they are good enough right now and don't need to lose weight to matter in the world. Tina is pissed that I think that I'm not, that A, I think I'm gaining weight, and B, that I'm not losing weight. I was venting at James, not even it's with James, it goes at James. And I literally said the sentence, why am I even doing this if it's not making a difference? Now hold up. It is making a difference. It makes an enormous difference every day for me. These walks are dramatically improving my mental health, because while all of this is stressful and crazy, going outside and getting fresh air and usually hopefully sunshine, and that has been positive for my mental health every single time that we have done it. It has been really positive and healthy for my relationship, because my partner and I get to go spend an hour intentionally, no phones, no meetings, talking to each other and enjoying each other's company. It has been good for my body, right? Like good for my heart to raise its heart rate once a day, and good for my lungs to breathe deeply, and good for my muscles who are working. And like, it is good for my body. It's just not making a difference in the way we've been taught matters. We've been taught that exercise matters because it helps you lose weight. We've been taught that we should be losing weight if we're going to put this effort forward. We've been taught that weight loss is like the pinnacle of all of these things, right? Like weight loss is this cause for celebration in our culture. Because if I was losing weight, right? You've seen me, many of you, once a week for 8 weeks in a row now. If I was losing weight, you would have noticed. And if I was losing weight dramatically, you would comment. More often than not, I would be commented. I would be congratulated. Tina, you look so great. Congratulations. Are you losing weight? Tina, look at you. Go, work, girl. Like, I would be getting those kinds of compliments because we have been taught to compliment weight loss without question, without condition. Somebody loses weight and we're like, yes, work sis, get it. Congratulations. This is so exciting. But if I was dramatically losing weight over the 8 weeks I've been on Tea with Tina with you, and you were congratulating me, we would have no idea how I was losing that weight. Maybe it's because I go for a 60-minute walk every day, but maybe it's because I've stopped eating, because I'm so overwhelmed by all of these things that are happening and I can't control anything, but I can control what goes into my body. Maybe I'm losing weight because I've tried every single possible diet, because the internet has told me that if I come out of quarantine heavier than I went into it, then I'm a failure. So I'm focused really hard on making sure that I don't do that. And maybe I'm losing weight in the world's most healthy way, and I'm choosing to be active and eat healthy, and that's helping me. But we congratulate without knowing what's actually going on. We congratulate weight loss like it's this like giant achievement. And for some of us, it absolutely feels like that. For some of us, it is an achievement because it's something we've been working toward our whole life. But for some of us, it's not. And we don't even ask the question internally before we just start putting the love out there for weight loss. Our culture has taught us to celebrate it more than anything else. And I teach this. I teach people not to fall into this. I teach people to not feel like you have to lose weight to matter in the world. And I had a moment, like tears, anger, pissed off, which means it's really hard to unlearn these things, these rules that we've been taught about the way that our bodies exist and should exist and the way that we show up in the world. It is difficult to rewrite our brains and to think about our bodies and other people's bodies differently. It is challenging to do that. Which then, especially for some of my friends and family in the world, when I try to preach about this stuff, they're like, Tina, if everybody struggles with body image, if these rules are so deeply written, then like, why do we have to question differently about this? Why are you trying to teach everybody to exist differently in the world? Why don't you just accept that this is the world and moved on? Which is probably a fair question. But it's because I think you deserve to live a lighter life. No, I don't mean weight related. I mean, emotionally, spiritually, as a woman in the world, I think that you deserve to live a lighter life, a life that is not weighed down by shame and hatred and feeling like trash every time you look in the mirror. I think we were taught to hate our bodies because other people profit when we hate our bodies. And I think, I don't know, y'all, I don't want to feel like crap every time I look in the mirror. And I don't want to have to starve myself or exercise aggressively every single day or try to manipulate the way that my body looks to not feel like crap every time I look in the mirror. Can I find a way to not feel like crap when I look in the mirror without having to dramatically change the way I exist in the world? Especially because some of this is so far beyond predetermined. Genetics are a thing. My birth father is 6'5" and weighs 350 pounds. I was never going to be a tiny person. I was never going to be a tiny person. And to try to push and pull myself into this shape that I'm supposed to live in order to feel good enough. I don't know. I don't feel like it's a way to live life if we can avoid it. The years that I told y'all last time we were here and talked about body image, that I had a couple of years there where I gained a lot of weight, right? Those years, when I look back now, those were some of the happiest years of my life. But in the moment, I didn't even allow myself to feel the happiness, the joy, because I was feeling so much shame for letting my body go. I've not let myself go. I am, in fact, this might be bold, but I feel confident about it. I may be, in fact, a 10 times better a human. I am 10 times better a person now than I was when I was at my thinnest. I am kinder to myself and other people. I am more open. I am healthier in every single way except what that number on the scale is supposed to mean. The thinnest I've ever been in my entire life, I was in my early 20s. I was drinking all the time. I was smoking cigarettes. I was not sleeping well. I was eating like trash, and I was not living a healthy life. No part of me was living a healthy life. But then I still look at these pictures and I'm like, oh my God, I would kill to look like that right now. We do this all the time. We don't want to go back and look at our old Facebook pictures because we feel badly that we don't look like that anymore. I would kill to look like that right now. Except, here's the craziest part about that. When that picture was taken, didn't you also hate the way you looked in it? When that picture that you now long for was taken, weren't you looking at it like, ugh, can't believe I look like that? Which is just proof that the cycle exists to make you feel like trash about yourself regardless of what you look like. You're never gonna look at it and be so excited about life because when you took it, you felt like crap, and now it is a flawed system. And I genuinely believe that the shame we carry around about the weight that we have gained or the way that we look is heavier than the actual physical weight itself. The weight of shame is heavier than the pounds. And I want all of us to live a lighter life. I want all of us to try to find a little relief for the COVID body shaming that's coming with quarantine. Because when we look back on quarantine, obviously we're gonna look back at it with a giant like WTF, like what just happened, right? But when you look back on quarantine, like I think we'll look back with gratitude for our health and our safety. I think we'll look back on it with gratitude for the healthcare workers who are literally fighting every single day to try to keep us all safe. And I think we'll look back at it proud of the survival, right? In the global pandemic, in the complete uncertainty of the world, we survived. And with us, our partners, our friends, our family members, our kiddos, like we have survived. I think that's how we'll look back on quarantine. And you and your ability to survive a global pandemic is so much more meaningful than the weight on a scale. The feelings of shame are going to come up, okay? The memes are going to happen. The feelings of shame about, oh my God, how many Oreos did I just eat? Cheetos are a weakness in my household. If there are Cheetos in this household, I'm eating them. I'm eating all of them. I don't even know why. It's like I'm a 13-year-old. I can't stop. I love Cheetos. And so there is going to be moments when you're like, what did I just do? What did I do? Why haven't I moved enough today? Why haven't I taken care of my body today? There are going to be moments of shame. And what is not helpful is when you feel shame for feeling shame, right? That is not helpful. So what we need to do is find a way to acknowledge, to feel the shame and be able to move through it instead of feeling like crap that you're feeling like crap. Does that make sense? So when a thought of shame comes up about a behavior you have or have not exhibited in quarantine, about the way you feel when you look in the mirror, about weight you've gained or lost, any of these things, when these feelings of shame that are natural come up, the first thing I want you to do is acknowledge it. I feel like crap right now. And I want you to be curious about it. Why do I feel like crap right now? right? So when I had that moment with James the other day and I was like, I can't believe I'm like gaining weight. How is this even happening? Why am I working out at this? Like, pause. Where did that come from? Why am I feeling that way? That came from a world that tells me that exercise is supposed to help me change my body, right? Like I'm supposed to be losing weight if I'm going to take care of my body, right? Okay, so that's where it's coming from. And then I want you to ask yourself this question. Am I doing things to respect my body? Am I doing things to respect my body right now? If the answer is yes, then I think we can let some of that shame go. Okay? So in my instance, I feel like crap. Why am I not losing weight? Why am I gaining weight if I'm working out, right? Okay, cool. So am I doing things that are respectful to my body? Yes. I am trying to eat healthy, put goodness into my body because vegetables are like important, weird, who knew? And I'm trying to exercise because apparently like exercise, weird. Apparently that's like a thing that's good for your body, right? So I am making choices that are helpful and healthy to my body, regardless of its size. I'm respecting it. Okay, great. Then I can let go of the crappy feelings because they're not about what's actually happening, right? If you ask yourself the question, am I making choices that respect my body right now? And the answer is no, then we have to get curious again. Why not? What's keeping me from doing that? Maybe it's that this is an emotional toll and it's a pain and it's stressful and exhausting. And sometimes Oreos and Cheetos are the solution. And that's appropriate and justifiable. Maybe it's because you're following accounts on Instagram that make you feel like trash about yourself. And weirdly enough, when you feel like trash about yourself, you don't want to be kind to yourself. Okay, so maybe we can unfollow some of those accounts and try to let go of some of that shame. And I also want to say that if you have a couple days or a couple weeks where you aren't filling your body with respect, right? Treating it like the temple it is. Remember we talked about last week? I want you to add in a pandemic at the end of the sentence of criticism. I can't believe I'm eating all these Oreos. In a pandemic. I can't believe I haven't worked out. In a pandemic. I can't believe I'm not taking care of my body with all of this time. In a pandemic. And I want you to give yourself a little bit of grace and space. James and I tried really hard not to have ice cream. I freaking love ice cream. It's one of my favorite foods. And we tried really hard not to have ice cream in the pandemic. We're like, we're not going to do this. We're making healthy choices. And then we found ourselves every single night being like, I really want ice cream. So now there's ice cream in the freezer. And you know what? It's delicious. And I don't regret it for a second. Because when it wasn't here, I was just sitting on the couch being cranky that it wasn't here. Right? Like I'm not setting myself up for success. So those are the things that I think help me in the moments where I feel like I'm losing it a little bit, or when I feel like I'm not as proud of the decisions or my body as I should be. So I want to pause here because I think this is something that a lot of people think about, struggle with, talk about. So I'm going to have you continue to you've thrown a lot of stuff in the comments. I'm going to catch up on the comments for a second. And I want you to throw some thoughts in there and some questions. What are some questions you have that I can help you? How can I help you with acknowledging the shame, being curious about the shame, trying to let go of the shame? How can I, what are some of the questions I can answer for you to make this feel a little bit easier? Because when we're here having the conversation, I think it can feel really good, but then we're going to be done with Facebook Live and you're going to go back to your kitchen and it's very easy to slip very quickly back into some of those old patterns. And you're not wrong because these are patterns that the world has told you you're supposed to have for, ever. So I want to make sure that we're not creating shame. We're trying to eliminate it. So how can I help you do that? Type your questions. I'm going to read for a second. Oh, and now I made the comments go away. You're back. Perfect. Oh my gosh, so many people I love are here right now. This makes me so happy. Oh, hey, West Georgia. Carrie, that's a really kind compliment. Thank you. Oh, Jennifer, that is so real. I know you talk about this later, but this is so powerful that like friends or family want you to be healthy. And so they send you things like exercise tips. Fun fact, my mother for 5 years now, 6 years now, has given me workout clothes every Christmas. Now, my mother loves to work out. Loves to work out. It is her favorite thing in the world. She works out at least once a day. I asked her about what it felt like for her to be pregnant and like morning sickness and things like that. And she straight up was like, well, I just worked out through morning sickness and it made me feel better. What? So like, maybe she's doing it because it's her passion in the world and she loves it and she wants to like include me in on that, right? It might be a very valid reason. But what it feels like is that what you just got me for Christmas was a hint. Right? That she just boxed up a hint and put it under the Christmas tree for me. And some people send us really healthy things, and some people who haven't had conversations about body image or who haven't cracked open the shame hole that can be the way the internet makes us talk about our bodies. They send us things that make us feel gross. I'm like, how do you navigate that when they're maybe in a different headspace than you? That's complicated. That's very complicated. Thank you for sharing. Less than 4 Oreos is a life sitting, is a life rule that brings me joy. Yes, people should not. Why do people comment on people's bodies? People talk about women's bodies like it's like the news. Like it's just like, oh, well, it's the weather. Like, oh, it's going to be freezing cold outside. Did you notice that she gained weight? Like, Wendy, why would you, no. Don't talk about my body. Don't comment about my body. Don't look. I mean, you can like look, but don't touch. Like, why are women's bodies fair consumption? Why don't we talk about them? Like, makes my brain explode. I'm not even able to articulate how mad it makes me. Jennifer, you're really crushing it with these points here today. That's another really great point, is that some of us have been trying to take care of our bodies, right? Have been trying to make moves. And we can't because access to healthcare right now is complicated, right? I mean, access to healthcare in the United States of America is always complicated, but that's a whole nother conversation. But like, I totally feel this, right? Like I maybe in March had these goals, like I was going to get my physical or whatever. And now like you can't. And so are your people trying to help you take care of your body in ways that you can't because you can't access medical care right now? And so they might be coming from really helpful, kind, healthy places, but it still doesn't change the way it emotionally feels, right? This is a very real thing. Jen, I'm so glad you're here. Diet talk, preach, sister. Yes, yes, yes. This is really complicated because, I'm so glad that you said this, thank you, Jen, because diet culture is just now, maybe in the last year or two, becoming a thing we're starting to be critical of. And even then, the we being critical of it is different, right? Like my Instagram feed is full of people who are body positive advocates, right? Because it's part of my passion in life and part of what I do in the world. But diet culture is so deeply ingrained in the way that we exist that not everybody is ready to be critical of it. Not everybody even believes that it's broken or that it's wrong, right? Like we've been taught that diets are helpful. We've been taught that if you're taking care of your body, you're probably on a diet, right? And so there's such a gap in knowledge between people that have read about and become critical of diet culture and people that have not. And I don't mean that as a values assessment. Like, I think it totally depends on who you surround yourself with and what you're reading. And I think it's complicated, right? And so we've got people that still firmly believe that diets are just like a thing and that they're appropriate and that we should talk about it and talk about how we're losing weight and what did you cook last night? Oh my God, I used the almond flour recipe. Thank God, because regular flour, I know, right? Like, but when we talk about our diets like they're normal, they absolutely have mental health impacts on the people around us. People that have experienced disordered eating or eating disorders in their life. People that have found themselves in a diet controlling more than they should, more than what is healthy for their mind or their body, right? Like dieting can turn into obsessive behavior. It can turn into a lot of controlled or uncontrolled. Like there are so many problems with the way that diet culture can impact people's mental health, but that's not a commonplace understanding yet, right? And so trying to navigate the diet culture and how to tell people, listen, I don't want to hear about your diet, and that's not because I don't care about you, it's because when you talk about your diet, it does things to my brain. So I care about you a lot, but I don't want to hear you talk about your weight loss journey. It can get really dicey and really complicated. So first of all, if you are somebody that does not know a lot about the toxicity of diet culture, I would encourage you to do some research about health at every size physicians and health research in the world. I would encourage you to do some research about what, even just literally Googling the term diet culture, I think helped me. I learned a lot about how diet culture has infiltrated and impacted people's mental health. So I think that's worth a Google. The other thing that I would say is if you are having a hard time when people talk about their own weight loss journeys or their own diets, and for you that is an unhealthy mental space for you to be in, this is much easier said than done. But if somebody's conversations are negatively impacting your mental health, I don't know that you owe them an explanation to ask them to pause or to be respectful of you, right? So for you to say like, I'm happy to talk to you more about it if you want to learn, but I just want to tell you that your diet chat makes me feel a lot of things because of my experience and my history of my body. And so I would just love if we could talk about something else. I'm happy to talk about our bodies in non-diet ways, but just the diet stuff does some stuff to my brain. And hopefully they will be kind and understand. And if they don't understand, hopefully they'll ask you some questions and learn from you and allow you to explain how you're feeling. But you don't owe anybody that. You don't owe anybody anything except kindness. And for you to ask kindly, hopefully is enough, but it is absolutely complicated. So thank you for asking that question, Jen. I appreciate you. Kelsey, that is so real. I think I shared this last time. Mom's complicated, okay? Family is complicated. It's not just mom stuff, but like, I think I told you all this last time. My mother in my life has never once said anything to me to make me feel like crap about myself. She has never, ever. And I know that that is not everybody's reality. And if that is not your reality, I want to give you a hug, because having a parent who loves you talk to you like that is really challenging. My mom has never said anything to me about the way that I look. In a anything. But my mom has talked so much trash about herself and her body that I have been inherited and interpreted it, right? Like if my mom is a very thin, very active, very healthy adult, and she hates the way her body looks, and I am not very thin, then what does that teach me about my body, right? Which isn't fair, because she's not trying to make me feel like crap, right? She's just living her life and sharing her own emotional experience with her body, which is totally natural and justifiable. But we interpret and inherit a lot of these things from our parents. And when they come from your parents, it's different, or your grandparents or other family members or other people who helped raise you. There's no way not to internalize some of that stuff. So I totally hear you. Brittany, this is so real. We talk a lot of crap, and I say we as women in larger bodies about women in smaller bodies and whether or not they should be complaining about them. This was a hard lesson for me to unlearn. And truly, it took me listening. When I do my body image programming for women of any age, there's a lot of sharing, because I think there's a lot of power in talking about the shame that we've experienced in our lives. And the number of women who I would look at and maybe be envious of because of their smaller body or their thinness or their proportions or whatever, share some of the most gut-wrenching, heartbreaking stories about people treating them like trash, or about the way that they've been taught to see and feel exists in their bodies. Like, it took me hearing the words coming out of mouths of people that I would have judged or written off before and being like, this is not a big girl issue. Like, there are big girl issues, but that's not one of them, right? Like my thighs chafing every time I walk, that might be one of them, but like body image is not a big girl issue. It is like a thing that people experience on all versions. And we also talk a lot about it in the spectrum, in the context of weight gain, but also there are people their entire lives that can't gain weight and feel too thin and like get mocked and teased and hate their body because they're not heavy enough. Or because, especially in the world of the Kardashians, they're not proportioned in the right way. And have been taught to hate their body because they're too thin. So like, it's messed up on either side, right? Yes. Now I'm just preaching to the choir. Yes. Allison, I 100% agree with you. It is because of the way that we've been taught to consume media and the way we've been taught to analyze media that gives us permission. I'll tell you all this, starting to follow plus size models on Instagram has changed so much about my world. And not just plus size models, but like plus size humans, right? To like see images of bodies that look like mine or are bigger than mine or just like exist differently, exist outside of the traditional sense of beauty that our media has created. Like it has shifted so much for me because it makes, I don't know, it makes me feel less crazy. It makes me feel more normal. And frankly, I probably should feel normal because the average size of women in the United States of America is 16 to 18. So I should probably not feel abnormal, but the media and the way that we consume it has taught me that I'm abnormal. So I totally agree. And I think to a certain extent, we are able to control that, right? Like we're able to do the shift in your own social media accounts. Lots of us follow accounts because we thought it would motivate us, but it doesn't motivate us. It just makes us feel like trash. Carrie, I'm so sick of being jealous of my thin husband. This is so real. I'm not laughing. I'm totally like, I'm feeling this because my husband is not a thin person, but men lose weight statistically faster, quicker, earlier than women do. And you both have different body types, right? You both exist in different worlds and your genetics are different. But when you're in the same place with that person, it is so hard not to compare and contrast, right? It's so hard not to look at that person and be like, well, like, there's no way not to. And it can feel really crappy. So when I did some research and learned about men's metabolism, like genetically speaking, it did help me a little bit because I learned that like at one point, James and I, this is a weird flex. Stick with me. This is awkward in the beginning. James and I went to Italy for a month last year. It was amazing. And maybe one of the best months of my entire life. But in Italy, all we did was eat pasta and gelato and drink wine. I don't regret a thing. But when we came home from Italy, we came home like walking carbohydrates, right? Like I could feel my energy level being very low. I could feel myself like sludging. I was we needed to do a reset, right? So we tried keto, which was a fascinating experience for somebody that knows the dangers of diet culture to then participate in diet culture was a fascinating experience. But James lost a bunch of weight and I did not. And I was so upset. I was like, I am eating all the same things as you. I have also stopped eating carbs. I have also stopped. Like, none of these things are happening for me. Like, I was so pissed. Like, really? Universe? Like, really? Whatever. Like, women don't go through enough? Like, I gotta deal with periods and I can't lose weight? Like, this is some crap. This is some biological crap. This makes me so mad. But there is like genuine research about the way the male body processes things differently that helped me feel a little less angsty and comparative about it because I was so deep in the comparison about I didn't understand what I was doing wrong. Turns out I wasn't doing anything wrong. My body's just different. And that was important for me. So I hope that might be helpful to you. Oh, I love when you say hi to each other. It brings me so much joy. Lisa, Ann. I'm going to yell. I'm not going to yell because my husband is on a call in the other room. Healthcare professionals are not always helpful in this instance. Some healthcare professionals are, and I love those humans. But many of you right now, if I asked you to in the chat, could tell me a terrible story about something a doctor said to you. I know that you could because we've done this before. I know that you could because it's one of the questions I ask in my program. And women have had doctors say terrible, terrible things to them. Doctors have written off women's pain forever, especially women of color, by the way, and said that if we just lost weight, it would be better. People talking about like genuine like tears in their ACL, but they went to 3 doctors first that told them that they probably just needed to lose weight, and that would solve all their problems when they actually like needed like a full knee reconstructive surgery. Plus size women who have been taught that they don't have digestional issues, that they're not experiencing anything, that they're just fat and need to lose, right? Like there are so many negative stereotypes that can come out of healthcare practitioners. but there is a website. If you search for Health at Every Size Physicians on Google, there's a website where you can put in your location and you can find physicians that do subscribe to the Health at Every Size mindset, who will not make you feel that way because they acknowledge that you can be metabolically and biologically healthy regardless of your weight. And so if that is something, if you are tired of going to the doctor and being made to feel like crap, if you are avoiding going to the doctor because you don't want to be told things that are shamed about your body, there are some practitioners, hopefully close to you or in your area and hopefully covered by insurance, that can help you, because nobody deserves to feel like trash, especially not when they're like, going to the doctor to take care of their body. Bridget, I'm reading your comment. Give me a second. We're all in the same experience. Retweet. You are not a problem or the problem. There's so much community in this, right? Like there's so much community in talking about our bodies in crappy ways. The reason I started doing these conversations, the reason I started writing programming about this is because I was watching it happen with our collegiate sorority women. That's where I first noticed it. And the collegiate sorority women would be sitting around at a meal together and be like, oh my God, I feel so fat. I know, right? I'm so gross. We gotta go on a diet. Yeah, I read about this like lemon juice cleanse where all you do is put lemon and cayenne pepper into water and drink that for 12 days and you lose like 20 pounds. Great, let's do that because spring break's next month and I really don't want to look fat in my photos. It's like bonding us together by talking about how much we hate our bodies. And then perpetuating unhealthy behaviors as a result, right? Like there is so much bonding that can come from it. And for us to be able as individuals make a choice in our brain that we're not gonna let ourselves slip into that or feel like we have to change as a result of that is a really difficult choice to make, but I think an ultimately very healthy one. So I'm proud of you. You're a boss. Oh, with your son, that's real. And then have it such like, for men, it is such a different thing, right? Like the stereotypes that show up about body and the expectations of body, right? Like the you're too thin thing in men's culture is so powerful and pervasive because the expectation is that you're supposed to be ripped, right? Like you're supposed to get yoked at the gym, bruh. And like, not everybody's built that way, right? And so the way that these young men are taught to feel like crap about themselves because they don't look a certain, right? Like, it's so perpetual and so pervasive. Oh, Dobbins, I love you. You created freaking life. Yes, you did. Loving my body now is different. That is very, very, very powerful and real. And I feel like a lot of moms on here can understand that. Because our bodies go through so much to bring life into the world. And then the narrative immediately switches to, so how are you going to lose that baby weight? Like, I'm sorry. Hang on real quick. I created life. I carried it inside of my body for however many months. I pushed it out of my body. And now I have a newborn at home that I have to learn how to parent and take care of. And I should be dieting. Those are priorities. Okay, cool. And the pressure is so grand and so great. Like, think about postpartum, right? The amount of time we talk about losing baby weight as opposed to the amount of time we spend talking about postpartum mental health is insane, because there is so much happening to your hormones in your body that we don't talk about postpartum depression. Like, we don't discuss it in our culture, but every woman who has a baby experiences a shift in hormones and a shift in mental health and wellness. It happens all the time. We don't talk about that because we're too busy talking about baby weight. And so like trying to navigate your relationship with your body that has obviously changed is so complicated. And the only way to talk about it is in the context of what diet and exercise routine you're doing to try to lose the weight that you gained creating a human. Now I'm yelling. I'm sorry, I'm yelling. She's so fired up. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate you. Y'all, this is the Dobbins I talk about in my speech. This is the Dobbins this is it. She's the best. See, I told you. Ugh, Lisa, I'm so sorry. So frustrating. Hi, Erin. You're my favorite. I love when people are saying nice things to each other. Yeah. BMI is BS. I'm not going to yell about this because I did this last time. BMI is a lie. And it is a lie used to make people feel like crap about themselves and go on fad diets that cost a bunch of money and are unkind to our bodies and our brains. So, and again, if that is not information or research that you are familiar with, I promise I'm not making it up just to yell at you. Do some Googling, do some research. It is worth your time. There's some real statistic and information in there that's worth reading. That's so real. When they talk about diabetes, they only talk about diet when there's so many other contributing factors. That is so powerful and so valid. Squirrel Team 6. What a day. Oh, Carly, thank you for putting that link in there. This is also the Carly that I talk about in my speech. Y'all, we're surrounded by stars. This is amazing. Thank you for putting that link in there. The link that Carly shared is how you find Health at Every Size practitioners. So thank you, Carly. You're the best. It was developed by the insurance industry. It is a lie. It is a lie to make people spend more money and to feel badly about themselves. And frankly, y'all, it is hard enough to be a woman in the world. There are enough things in the world that make us feel badly about ourselves. We don't need to add more. We don't deserve more. You deserve to live a lighter life. And quarantine is complicated and emotional and trying and is about survival. If you in quarantine are able to find ways to respect your body, to put goodness into it, to treat it with kindness and respect, that is a win, regardless of whether or not your jeans fit or the number on the scale changes by the end of it. But I also think that if you survive quarantine, if you are able to come out of this and hug humans again and spend time with your family, and I don't know, I think those are victories too. I think those are powerful wins. We are doing the best we can. And I want us to be able to live life with a little less shame in it. And I hope that this conversation and these resources that these brilliant women are sharing in the chat are helpful for you, because I don't want anyone to feel like they can't live their life without shame. Shame is really heavy. Shame is heavier than the pounds. And I hope that you can shed a little bit of shame this week. I hope this was helpful for you. And I want to talk to you more about it. So if you want to email me or follow me on Instagram and send me a message, or message me on Facebook or whatever, I would love to talk to you more about this. I can't talk about this every time because not everybody is ready to have that conversation every time, but I'm really grateful for those of you that showed up and had it again with me today. I'm sending you love and light and patience, and for those of you that don't want to count the weeks, we won't, but I'm really grateful that you came and spent your time with me today, and I hope that it was helpful, and I hope that you're able to live an emotionally lighter life in the weeks to come. Have a wonderful week, as wonderful as possible. Hopefully get some sunshine in your life, and I will see you next week at 2:00 on Tuesday. Bye, everybody. Thank you.